Welcome to the show, Matty Marshall. My guest today, one of the best to ever do it, Yosh Rau. Yosh Rau from San Diego Dynasty. And I wanted to get Yosh on to talk about stuff on the lead up to World Cup for a number of reasons. One, Yosh has been a leading light in the sport for a very long time, which we're going to discuss a little bit today. But he's also having an absolute career year at the age of 43. We're going to play some of the highlights of Yosh, and he's been attacking up the middle, and he's just been a huge asset for San Diego Dynasty during their run. We're going to discuss their amazing yet frustrating performance at the last event in Texas, where they were able to win the three-man. We're going to watch some of the highlights of Yosh's performance from that, and then had a frustrating 1-3 performance in the prelims to get knocked out of the tournament for the first time this year, first time in a long time. Yosh Rau is, like I said, he's a leading light. He's been on Dynasty since 2004. He was on the Iron Kids. I played with Yosh on the Ironman. I played with Yosh on Joy Division. Yosh is about as good as it gets as far as icons in this sport. Going to talk about a lot of stuff they got working with their Champions Club and Field 1. He was the narrator for All That Matters, which, if you haven't seen it, Hormesis and the amazing production crew over there with Patrick Spohr and Mika Hutanen and Alex Frazier were able to put together something special. Definitely check it out. New edition dropped. Definitely check that one out as well too. I got a piece in there that's it's about the nets that surround the field, but it's not really about the nets. And then also for, mark it on your calendars. It's coming up. That's what we're pushing towards here is it's just the biggest and the best tournament every year, no matter what. World Cup's going down November 12th through the 16th. And then here at Major League Paintball, we have a lot of content coming your way between now and then. I'm going to continue to have these podcasts. Also, we're going to be having a documentary about Edmonton Impact's victory at the last event, which was their first since 2022. Big win for Edmonton Impact, put some big time in the conversation at World Cup, as they had that very frustrating loss to PB Fit when, PB Fit stepped up to win the World Cup, and then they were on a run. So it's getting very interesting at the top end of things. We also were able to bring out all of the Monkey with a Gun productions. So and Division 1. So Push, Sunday Drivers, Serial Killers. That's all up on Major League Paintball Plus. Go check it out. We also have all the events this year. We got the three-man from the Ocho that dropped as well too, and going to be, like I said, bringing you guys a lot of content. So without any further ado, let's jump in, bring in Yosh Rau in, and excited for this conversation because Yosh is a very intelligent man and also about as veteran as a veteran gets here in this sport that we call pro paintball. Yosh, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing great, Matty. Thanks for having me on. And that intro is like probably too much now. I should probably you just fade back out to black and we'll just end the show there and I'll be happy with that. Yeah, too much, man.
I mean, I actually
thank you,
bro. Like, what do you mean too much? I had to cut it short, dude. I didn't even list all the wins and multiple time world championships, and I kept it as succinct as I possibly could for your intro, yet giving people information that if they had, maybe they just started playing this year, they don't know who you are. I don't know. That's kind of part of the reasons that we do this show. So yeah, we got a lot to talk about tonight. I do want to start out with some of these highlights of your performance this year. But before we jump into these highlights, I want to get a glimpse into your mindset for 2025. So in the offseason in 2024, you are very seasoned in these situations, but you guys had a departure of some of your best players, your leaders, Skinny Kevin. You bring in a new coach, two new coaches. Well, Junior had been working already with you guys a little bit, but you get Mike Bianca and Junior Brown as your coaches. So there was a decent amount of turnover. And we didn't really know what the line was going to look like with the new additions. You get Kyle Berry, you get Joe Barrett. You got these other guys like Denny Schonauer. Like you got these. Yeah, so there's all these different guys that are kind of in the mix as far as the lineup is concerned. We didn't really know who was going to be getting the lion's share of playing time. And on my bingo card this year, as far as, okay, we're heading into World Cup, I'm pulling a bunch of highlights, and it's going to be Yosh Rau by first-degree murder up the middle more often than not. That's really impressive. And the combo of you and Blake has just been massive as an asset for Dynasty this year. Again, we're going to discuss Dynasty as a whole when we get to the brackets and kind of discuss World Cup and get your thoughts on the situation there. But before we jump into these highlights, So knowing so what were you thinking coming into this season? Okay, well, I'm going to be just slaughtering people up the middle. That's going to be my new role, or did it just kind of happen by osmosis? Like, how did this go down?
No, that's not what I was thinking. I mean, I say every season has some turnover for Dynasty. You know, some seasons more than others. Certainly, the departures of some of the players and Coach Kevin during this offseason, it marked a time for Dynasty where, you know, I think around like the paintball world, there was a lot of uncertainty. You know, it was like every player that left or every coach that left, you could feel the pressure of the paintball world just kind of being like, oh, Dynasty's done, you know, Dynasty's lost everybody, you know, who are they even going to field a team? You know, that's kind of the feeling that you get. I think internally, the team, even I'm not impervious to that type of pressure or that feeling either, you know, especially when you get so comfortable with a group of guys. And we had, you know, 10 players that were all starting caliber players that were all contributing to multiple professional wins and world championships over the last, you know, since 2020, really. And we had been really lucky to keep most of that core together. And it was a pretty magical group, you know, but that's just the way things go. I mean, it's natural for groups to come together and, you know, have whatever level of success they're going to have. And you try your hardest to keep that together. But at a certain time, that's done, you know, whether that's because individuals felt like it was time to leave, or got bigger or better offers or wanted to go and try to do their own thing, or whether it was because the team felt like it was time to move on from some of these guys. You know, there's a lot of different reasons. I think during this off season, the thing that helped me keep it together were the guys that remained. You know, it's like the veteran guys. And at this point, like every guy that was still on Dynasty's roster was a veteran guy. I mean, even the younger guys like Harry and Danny, who were still certainly trying to prove themselves as, quote unquote, starter material for the team. They had started to do that at World Cup last year. So being able to now just rely on those guys to step up, it wasn't too much of a stretch of the imagination that could be a real thing, you know. What was important was kind of this galvanizing of the really veteran guys, I guess I should say, the really old guys, in saying it's time for us to step. You know, I mean, things happen like when you have such a powerful roster like we had for the last few years, where certain players, I mean, even like myself, or I don't want to speak for Alex, but Alex and I have had these conversations. You make yourself available, but you're not necessarily pressing to make yourself the guy, right? You're not necessarily pressing for playing time. You just make yourself prepared and available, and you know that the team is so stacked that you're ready to go. There was a point in the offseason where, I mean, Alex and myself and other guys that were still with the team looked at each other and said, that shit's got to stop. You know, this is the time where we actually have to step up. This has to go now back to the time where you're not just preparing yourself to be available, you're preparing yourself to be the guy, potentially, you know? And I felt like every single guy that remained on the roster answered that call early. And I think that's what got us off on good footing. And we've been able to, for the most part, build a lot of team chemistry and a lot of team trust based on that, you know, individual efforts and the individual realization that this year was going to be harder and we were going to have to step the fuck up. I think the coaches also had a role in preparing us for that mentally. You know, I mean, there's certainly something to the power of being like the dominant team, which I've been lucky to be on Dynasty and enjoy that for many years, decades maybe, right? But there's also something that's powerful and intriguing about assuming the underdog role too. And even though the name Dynasty carries a lot of weight, I think at the start of the year and certainly during the off season, I think a lot of people would have reclassified Dynasty as up. Now they're the underdogs, you know. It's kind of fun that way, right? I mean, it's kind of something that keeps the competition fresh. There's certainly, I mean, you were talking about, the rise of some of these other teams and the reemergence of Impact. Impact has always been good. I mean, they've been, even if they haven't won an event since 2022, you said, it doesn't feel like that. They've always been in it, and then Paintball Fit. And there's just and Arsenal is playing fantastic paintball. Like these are teams that we're going to mention throughout the show here, I'm sure. But it's becoming more and more difficult to draw that line between the top teams and the bottom teams. I mean, that line has been pushed further and further down, where you've got so much parity across the league that on any given day, one of these teams that you thought was a top team can be beaten by one of these teams that you thought was a bottom team. There's no better reminder for us that is true than looking back on the last event. I don't think we go into these events, no matter what our ranking is. I don't think we go into these saying like, well, we're a top team, we should beat all these teams. That's not the mentality. It never has been, but it certainly helps to roll through with confidence. And things are so close out there between the skill and the preparation of all these teams now that, I mean, every single match is a battle. It doesn't matter who you're playing against. I mean, for anybody that watched our game specifically at the last event, the team that beat us the most convincingly was Leverage. I mean, we had a poor record in the prelims. That's why we didn't make it on. But all of our games were very close, except for the Leverage game. So, you can wrap your head around that. It's kind of cool. I mean, I don't think it's cool that we lost, but it's kind of cool that things are so tight these days.
No, I totally agree. And we'll get into the weeds on some of this in a bit after we watch these clips. But before we jump into these clips, just to kind of set the stage for everyone as far as where your headspace was, I have two questions for this. One, as far as being honest is concerned, I mean, you're, obviously, even if you had stopped playing 7, 8, 10, you could have stopped playing 10 years ago and you still would have been, we're voting for the Hall of Fame right now and you'd be on the list. You'd be making the Hall of Fame if you stopped playing 10 years ago. That's realistic. You're 43 years old. You've basically been playing a 3 position for, the past previous years because you guys were winning and you had guys that played other spots. So the first question I have is, what was the moment where it was like, oh, Yosh is going to be attacking up the center. He's going to be a go-to attacker up the center. Did that emerge at a tournament? Was that in practice? Like, when did that happen? Because you've been slaughtering people, closing games out. Your big real, I mean, you've had tons of moments. Yeah, shoot a body on the break here, play consistent. Standard Yosh Rau paintball for the seasons before. But this season, you've been a tip of the spear up the middle. It was blatantly apparent in the, I mean, we were having like, oh, should they roll with Blake or Yosh as the first attacker up the middle? I don't know. Maybe they should play them both at the same time. Now, you and Yosh throughout the year have played a little bit together. We're going to watch one of those clips. But, so when did that happen? And was there any doubt for you? Like, you're 43, like, can I still do this? Can I still play that role? Or was it more of a, no, absolutely, I'm playing this role? I'm just asking because, a lot of people out there doubt themselves. I would doubt myself when I played. Like I would have to talk myself through, okay, you're 10 foot tall, you're a god out there, let's go, you're one of the best in the world. I mean, I would have to do that positive self-talk to harness my ego and summon my spirit. But that was a hard road for me. It was not always easy. Mm-hmm. Is that something that comes easy to you? Or, so that was that. So those are my questions. When did it become apparent to you and the coaching staff that you were going to be a tip of the spear of the middle? And then instead of just playing that standard 3, and then how was it for you in your headspace, seeing as that you're not 23 anymore? Because there's a lot of guys I just got back from Texas. There's a lot of dudes that have come back to this game and they're older now. And I'm just wondering, maybe that might be, they'll never admit it to me. Maybe some of them might, but we coach teams, you coach in the WCPPL. It's like being a psychologist, a sports psychologist as a leader. So I'm just wondering, how do you personally deal with that? And was that a question for you heading into your role that you've just been absolutely phenomenal at this year?
So, I guess to address the first thing, like, what was the moment? There was no moment. It's been just a constant work. I mean, I think that's how every single one of our players approaches it. It's like, you just have to figure out where you can contribute in the best way possible. I don't think that I'm set in that position in terms of like having to go up the gut every time, right? Or if it's available. I think what helped me through the last 2 seasons was coaching. I think as I coached, I watched a lot of paintball, and I was extremely active in dissecting why a point was won or wasn't won, right? And I'm watching it with an extremely critical eye so that I can provide feedback for my players when they come back outside of the nets, so that hopefully they can process that and then they can apply it the next point, and it should be easy, right? In doing that, I created more of a database for myself, and in terms of like seeing all of these missed opportunities, right? Seeing like all of these mistakes made from either inaction or mistakes made from overaction. And the other thing that has become clear to me is that if I have information, and I'm talking in paintball terms, but like, in a general sense, if I have information, I can make good decisions. That's how it goes. It is certainly the case for me in paintball. I've been around long enough where if I have information, I can make good decisions. That realization makes it really simple for me to say, just trust your instincts. You're making, on the paintball field, you're forced to make decisions based on the information that you have, and you're forced to make those decisions very quickly. That's exactly what I've been training to do for my entire life. After you realize that your decisions are going to be good based on all that information, you just have to provide the action. You just have to do it. That's something that plays in my mind every time I play. I mean, consciously, do the right thing. What is the right thing to do right now? Okay, do that. It for me, it has become much simpler in those terms. I just think about what is the right thing to do right now. Okay, I'm going to do that. And then it happens. There's no, I would say, like, there's no difference from how I played as a 3 in previous years to how I play as a 3 this year. And I do still play the 3 mostly. I just feel like I take a little more action when I feel like there's some action to be taken. And it's that simple. I mean, then I can be more proactive in the center, which helps our team, and that turns over points and opportunities for other guys as well. And then you start to create a better balance of attack on the field. And, there's not just 2 tapes, obviously. Some field layouts are not as advantageous on one area of the field. So you have to have players that are willing to find a way in whatever part of the field you can create something. That's the only way to come up with a balanced attack. So, I mean, that's really the way I'm looking at it. That's the way that I'm trying to do it this year. And obviously it just comes down to having information and acting on my instincts.
What about the confidence and the mindset? I mean, do you go out there every time and just remind yourself, like, I'm Yosh fucking Rau and I'm going to go crush people and destroy everyone else's paintball dreams? Or is there any doubt at all? Like, how does that, because I just think that that's like a very realistic thing to discuss, because self-doubt is something everyone has to deal with at some point in time, unless you're an absolute sociopath. How do you deal with that? I mean, heading into this year, again, you're not 23 anymore, 43. So and that's why if I was just getting into this game and I was an older dude, I got my stuff together, I got my job, I want to play tournament paintball, I'm playing, US XBL, NXLs, whatever, WCPPL, and I'm playing divisional paintball, and I'm like older dude looking for a favorite player, and I'm an attacker. You would be my guy, just because of the year. Again, we're about to watch some of these clips here in a second, but and just, if you haven't seen them or you don't remember, you'll see. I mean,
yeah,
the proof. The proof is there. I think a lot of that, just by watching it. So, how did you deal with the doubt, Yosh? Like, honestly, how did you deal with the doubt?
There are a couple ways that you deal with the doubt. Certainly, surrounding yourself by by players who trust and believe in you helps a lot, because everyone's going to make mistakes out there, and everyone's going to find themselves in situations that don't work out for them. You know, there's like barely anything on the paintball field that is just 100% guaranteed success rate. Everything has some risk or some chance of going wrong built into it. So there's, you know, the other way of looking at that is there's always some amount of luck required. But the thing that helps me with I guess suppressing the doubt or feeling the pressure is just realizing that maybe it's just for me, but I feel that it should be this way for everybody that plays paintball. There's not that much on the line. And I know that runs contrary to like how a lot of people want to think of themselves as a highly competitive athlete or an alpha in whatever sport or game that they choose to play. But for me, that takes a ton of the pressure off. You know, the realization that there is in life, when I'm on the paintball field, there really is not that much on the line. Just go out and have fun, trust your instincts. The chips are going to fall as they're going to fall, you know? And I think that if you do a good job of trusting your instincts, and if you have fun with your teammates, you're going to be happy with the results, you know? And I'm blessed to have a bunch of great players around me where it's like it's a multiplier in terms of our chances of success if I just go out there and act that way and conduct myself that way.
Do you have any?
I mean, if you're trying to stay out of your own mind, you just have to be like, I mean, what does it matter? Just go and play, and go have fun. You know.
Is that something you kind of, because you know, like Rich used to have this mantra he would say to himself. There would be certain things I would say to myself. I would just remind myself before I was going to go play. You know, I like, hey man, today you need to be amazing, and just like you said, appreciate you for you and your skills and what you have. Appreciate the amount of preparation that you've put into this. So we are going to be embracing the moment. We are going to be getting reads. We're going to trust our intelligence and our reads. We are not going to second guess our flow state. We're going to get in a flow state, and we are just going to accept the moment. When you see something, you make a read off of that moment. You are going to make that move, and you are going to embrace that, even if it doesn't work. And if it doesn't work, that's okay. We're just going to go right back. I never could convince myself that it wasn't like everything wasn't at stake. I felt I was the opposite. I was the more that, you know, it's like they say the stress comes from giving a shit. So I would just really make it seem life or death to me. That was my way to get in the flow state. So it's just interesting to kind of talk to people that have, you know, done that at a high level to see, well, okay, what did it take for you? You know, because I think there's multiple ways to get into that flow state and to get into getting the best out of your intellect, out of the preparation is already done. It's more of just getting everything out of what you have, the package that you've brought to the tournament. You know, so you have your experience, you have your talent, you've done all these different, different things that have happened.
To kind of put an extra important part in there, I mean, you mentioned the preparation. Yeah, there's now a lifetime of work that has gone into the preparation, but I did also step up my actual like paintball fundamental preparation work this year, and there's no denying that helps. Whether you're a young player or an old player, a new player or an experienced player, there is no doubt that working on your fundamentals will help you out on the paintball field. It makes all of the little connections where your mind says like, yeah, you can do this. It makes that happen with your body as well, right? So you can't neglect that stuff. And that was something that I felt like was important, not only just for me as an individual to be effective on the field, but also something where it was like, okay, we have to, like we talked about in the beginning, the time for complacency is over. We are rebuilding, and now we're put into this spot and this role on the team where the team is going to be thirsty for people who are leading by example and being the fucking man. And doing drills doesn't make you the fucking man, but doing drills and then bringing that to practice and encouraging teammates to do drills, and then the team seeing success off of that for themselves and just overall as a team and seeing their teammate and their buddy do well, all of that stuff helps a lot. So that was definitely something that I added, and I know, other guys on the team added as well, but that's been a huge help. I think, like, to ask how I convinced myself that there's not that much on the line, that's twofold. One is I'm comfortable because I've been playing such a long time, and I've like done a lot of the things in paintball that I've wanted to do at least once, right? The reason that I'm still playing is because I want to keep doing those things. Obviously, if it was just about like trying to accomplish this one thing this one time, me and my friends would have been out of here a long time ago. I still want to accomplish these things, but in some ways the pressure is off in that regard. The other thing was like just a greater perspective from my life. Like I have a daughter, I have a wife, like there are things, situations in your life, relationships that are there. Just as you get older, you realize that there's like so much more on your plate, and it's not like all that stuff adds life stress. It's an abundance of life. Those are all the things that add up to what you need to deal with and what you need to care about. And paintball becomes a part of those things. And maybe when you're younger, that's like in your space, your life bandwidth only really allows you, or you choose to only dedicate your bandwidth to paintball. And that's great. And you can probably see some massive gains there, right? Now I have so much else going on with my life. These are beautiful things, it's raising a family and being close with my family and friends and trying to be successful in my work and trying to take care of myself and stay healthy. These are beautiful things in life too, right? But they do give me the perspective that's like, just you should be appreciating your time that you're playing paintball. It's like that's your getaway, all of that other stuff that might be stressful at times or cause you worry. Paintball is your opportunity to go out and like compartmentalize all that stuff for the moment and just like live in the moment and play and have fun. And paintball, while the paintballs are flying around, you can't think about anything else. You have no choice but to think about just the moment you're living in. And it's beautiful to me. But it also tells me exactly what I need to do. I just need to be there, be present, appreciate the moment, and enjoy it.
I think it's a perfect intro to watching some of these clips. So let's just watch Yosh just slaughter people here for a little bit. This is going to be great. We're going to head into, so it's event one, it's Tampa, and we hit pause real quick. All right, let's just look at the score. Ladies and gentlemen, look at the score. It's 0-3 Red Legion. It is not looking good for Dynasty right now. So take me into your headspace in this point, Yosh, if you remember it here, and talk me through what we're about to watch.
This is an important match, and I felt like going into this match, we were prepared with scouting, and we had played pretty well up to this moment. I can't remember exactly how our prelim games went, but I do feel like this was the first time in the tournament where we actually felt like we were down. But like I said, the team had been playing really well up to that point where I don't think confidence in the pit was shook at all. It was just, there was plenty of time left. I want to say that in the pit, there was like this constant murmuring of there's plenty of time. There's plenty of time. And on the team, we have like, we're able to look at a score and say, oh, it's 0-3 or it's 0-4 or whatever. And if there's time on the clock, then we got them exactly where we want them, and you don't know, but it's like I said, it's you just have to keep believing. And the guys were riding high, and, it just seemed like it was reasonable to just try to stack 1 point at a time. The way that this center played on this particular layout, it was ripe. There were moves to be made, and like the fact that Kirill didn't trade out with me right there was lucky on my part. I would have been honestly happy to go through with that move and just get the trade with Kirill and see what happens after that. But getting the bonus kill of J-Rav's back after I passed Kirill and he didn't squeeze a shot off on me. I mean, that really kind of, I felt like that started to set this new tone in the match, and it just kind of boosted the team. And then, I mean, you'll see like shortly after this, then
Darren,
it started to be, I mean, it started to come together, you know. I mean, Blake was feeding off of it.
No, Blake was. Darren, if we could just run this back, because before we move on to the next clip, Yosh, I just think this will be a big benefit to anyone out here watching that does play your position. And so we could kind of run this back here and just kind of watch it through again. What is going through your mind in this situation? You know, I mean, again, obviously you're not feeling the pressure of the moment. You would just explain that. But what was the read you saw here that made you launch? Because there's still a lot of time. You don't have to launch here, but you launched, you know?
Sure. So there's a channel in the middle of this field. It's basically right where I ran up to that stand-up wedge. That, I mean, it was pretty free to make moves there because there weren't a lot of positions in the backfield that crossed through that channel. Basically, people would have to play the snake side temple straight ahead because they were a big part of either holding the other team out of the snake or trying to find every opportunity to get in there, right? And the opportunities to get into the snake on this particular field were slim because of the stand-up tower that I launched from. There, you know, a player could sit in there and shoot 10 pods and hold you effectively out of the snake and make it really difficult. So as a snake player, I feel like those guys were pretty well locked into playing straight ahead and just waiting and looking for an opportunity. The center of the field was very open, and where Kirill went to the 50-yard line here, I don't feel like it was a powerful position to play from. What it was good for was like in a power play, right? You could go there and you could try to wrap, and if you got that kill, you could own the snake side. If you didn't get that kill and you got discovered, then you were very susceptible to getting bunkered. I mean, this had been proven out in practice many times and then throughout the tournament. In fact, we practiced with Red Legion before this event, and I mean, it had been a battle in the middle like this. So at this particular moment, the opportunity to go bunker Kirill out of that center 50 was it came from just understanding that he was there and that he wasn't in an advantageous spot anymore. You know, he had been discovered and he wasn't really going to be able to do a lot of damage except for on me. I mean, I was the guy that he really kind of needed to shoot, and then he would free the whole snake side. So instead, I honestly went for what I thought would be an easy trade, but like I said, I was able to get my gun on him before he shot me, and I think I stunned him and was able to get the free bonus kill.
So then we move on. It's same situation now. At the 3-point spread, there's even less time on the clock.
It's scored again
on the line. Yeah. So they go back, and so you score that point, or you break it open, then your boys' teamwork makes the dream work, as our RIP Marcus Nielsen used to say. And then, this is kind of a lot of how it works, right? So you go out, you do that, team filters out, they finish the point off, they come back, they answer. And this is that seesaw battle between, like you said, with the parity, not only just with top teams, but with everyone in general. So now you're back to a situation where you're down by 3 again. And if we could roll this one out here, Darren, and then talk me through, you know, what you're about to see here, Yosh.
Yeah, I mean, you know, 5 points are on the board. And at this point, I mean, you're going to see the game time is at 7:23. So, I mean, these points are not running long, right? I mean, you're right about the halfway point in the match. I mean, the simple math tells you, well, if they scored that amount of points in this amount of time, then we certainly can too. So there wasn't really like any diminishing of confidence at that point. It really did feel like kind of keep doing your job. And here I am in that center 50, not discovered, right? That's the key to playing that stand-up wing. And so I was not discovered, which allowed me to get a sneaky kill on, I think it was Malloy that tried to fill the snake. And then once again, you know, the channel opens up. I mean, there were opportunities to move through that channel against teams that wanted to play straight ahead and wanted to like get down the tapes. There were opportunities through that channel all tournament. You know, I mean, we can talk about like where that opportunity ended when we played against Paintball Fit, because there was clearly a difference there. But yeah, I mean, once again, you know, like it wasn't that different of a move. I mean, it was one bunker set further onto their side of the field, but it wasn't that different of a move because they were playing the same style where they were playing basically from the inside, trying to control the tapes, and everyone was playing straight ahead. But but that was certainly a big one. I mean, just like a momentum shift, you know, and you could feel the excitement in the pit, even though we were still down a substantial amount of points. Like, you know, you get a little momentum shift, and you get a little bit closer, and there's still lots of time, and you start to think, you know, this is going to be doable here.
Yeah, and so you guys ended up winning this game. It was, I mean, I'm glad. I'm so happy to see the smile on your face, because we were just watching. I was watching it happen, and I think I told you at the end of the event, this was a rough event for me because my wife was massively pregnant, and I was just waiting for a call at any time that she was giving birth early, and I was just really trying to focus on doing my job. It was really hard. But you Dynasty and your performance specifically was a bright shining light for me, because it allowed me to, like you said, focus on what I need to do for the paintball community and for what I do. Because it was just a really captivating story, because, you know, heading into this year, and I, you know, it's like I honestly remember because you had done it on the Ironman a couple times, just real quick before we jump into this next one. But I'll never forget, we were in, you would come over to play for Joy Division, and you know, we brought you over for that because they were like, oh, we need a guy, and you got on the Ironman, and we're like, oh, we should bring over Yosh. And then there was a point in a game, and I can't remember who we were playing and what exactly the moment of the tournament was, but what makes it memorable for me was, like, based on the chess match of the situation, I knew you were still alive in the middle, and I was like behind you a little bit. Well, we were pretty close. And I'm like, man, it would be really great if Yosh was running through right now. And I just remember head checking, and I see you on their side of the field shooting everybody. And I was like, okay, yeah, this guy is, Yosh is the real deal, you know? Because at the time you were, you know, in your teens, and we knew you were good. But it's like, how good, when you see these guys come up, it's like, okay, they're good, but there's levels to this. You know, it's like there's good.
Well, it's a huge compliment.
There's good
you
enough
wanted a certain thing to happen, and then I was able to do that thing. You know, like that's.
It was like telepathic, man. I was just like, based on the read, I was behind you, and I'm thinking, okay, well, because I can't remember exactly the tactical situation, but it was basically that I was hoping that you knew, and I was trying to yell to you about the kills and everything, but I was like, man, I couldn't say, Yosh, do exactly this. Like, you know, they're all looking this way and do this, but it was just, you know, by the time I had like made a move outside wide and I wrap around, you're already shooting everyone running through the middle. And I was like, okay, that was exactly what needed to be done. Yosh is now, in my mind, he just teared up. And over the years, you've teared up to God level status. You know, it was just like,
well,
it was that. It was
I will say this. There's a lot of luck.
That was the first moment.
Sure. There's a lot of luck in that stuff too. You know, I mean, you're calculating risk, and you're saying like, well, there's maybe an opportunity here, and part of the assessment on making a move like that, especially like this move against Red Legion in Tampa, or the couple moves, it's like, okay, well, how much damage is guaranteed here, and then what are the opportunities that may come out of it also, right? So you're trying to calculate all that stuff, and at a certain point, you just have to go and exercise that possibility. You know, I will say, I mean, I know we're going to move on from that match, but I mean, those 2 points were important for the team to eventually mount a comeback and move on. But I mean, as you can see, like we weren't tied. We were still down by 2. And I mean, the remainder of the match was dominated by Blake. You know, I mean, Blake was going through and having even more success than what those 2 moves showed. Blake was going through and shooting multiple bodies, and then like finishing the entire team off, you know, like going and shooting multiple bodies on a move, and then bunkering the last 2 guys and being alive somehow still, you know. It was really incredible to see. But against the way the Russian guys were playing, that the center was open, you know. I'm sure a lesson for for Blake and I to like continue through the season to try to expose a center if it's like that. At the same time, I'm sure it was also a lesson for the Red Legion guys, you know, to not let something like that slip away. Because I mean, obviously they got up 3-0 and then 4-1. I actually think, I mean, if you play that, I think they're up 5-2. Also, I think they kept answering and regaining that substantial lead. But you know, the guys on the team just kept chipping away at it. It's great, fun.
Yeah, I remember at the end of that tournament when I talked to Mike Bianca and Junior, and they're like, "What do you think?" And I was like, "Well, first of all, congratulations. You guys had, I think, 3 or 4 come from behind victories. It was just a very gritty, gumption-filled battle for a brand new squad, essentially, a quote unquote brand new squad. Well, at least with enough.
I think that was important for the team in the moment too.
Yeah, 100%. So, but I told him, I was like, the only thing that we were all kind of wondering, just to co-sign on what you're saying, is that like you would go and Blake and you would play amazing. We just saw a 4-pack there, and you're right, Blake would show up and just dominate. I mean, we were having that conversation. Okay, well, if Dynasty wins this tournament, based on what happens in the finals and who actually seals the win up for them, it's got to be either Blake or Yosh, and Blake has the edge, because Blake was having even bigger highlight moves than you were having, which is insane to say considering how good those moves were, but that's how good Blake was. And we were like, oh my God. And then I remember asking, Junior and Mike, and I was like, well, did you ever think about maybe putting Yosh and Blake together because they were playing so well? I understand it's a position thing, like they're playing the same spot, but they were both on fire. Again, we could spend the next hour, but we got to get on. There's so much we got to talk about here.
Yeah, that's another conversation. That's a tough one though, right? Because we were literally just trading off playing the same position. So if you wanted to put both of us in, you'd have to be putting one of us in, I would say, out of position. And the other guys on the team were playing those spots well. So, I mean, I wouldn't have wanted to displace someone else to just have either Blake or I out of position. I feel like that's a net negative there.
Well, yeah, if you have 2 running backs and they're both going off and they both have 100 yards with a couple that doesn't mean you necessarily have to put them in the slot. It's just kind of it's frustrating because you're watching
your quarterback.
Yeah, so it's just also tough because paintball and football are not even close to exact parallels as far as positions are concerned, but positions are a thing. When I coach teams sometimes, and I don't know if you get this sometimes, Yosh, but guys will be like, I'll be like, what position do you play? Like, oh, Matty, I'll play anything you want. I'm like, that doesn't help me. I need to know what position you play. We have positions out here. Like it helps if you're that versed. Like if you can literally play every position or play a couple different positions, that's great. But I need to know where you're best, because where you're best is where we start out with. And then based on anyone else's best in that position, then we go from there. And then if I have another guy that gets hurt or can't make it, we'll slot you into that spot. But I'm not going to take my best guy in a position and sit him for somebody that can play every role. That's not how you get playing time if you're trying to win paintball tournaments.
No, it's just
but I just think it was interesting though, because
out a squad.
Yeah, but also, and we're going to see this in a little bit. And then sure enough, based on the layout, a couple times, you and Blake were playing together, so, and it worked out pretty good for you guys. It happened to, win you at least one game.
Just as a little aside, I did just notice that San Diego Dynasty is misspelled. I'm not sure if that's something that can be fixed later or if that should be fixed now.
Yeah, it's blocked out by my my little screen. I didn't see that. Yeah, sorry. Well, I don't know. We could try to fix it, but
it's okay. I don't think people are going to be that confused.
Apologies. Yeah. But so let's move on to this next one here. Because I don't know. I feel like I could spend hours talking to you about all this different stuff. So this one's Tampa Bay Damage. It's tied 2-2. There's 8:37 ish on the clock, and we can just kind of run this out. Like not everything's going to be a 4-pack run through here, but I just thought this one was super creative. It was a weird layout. So talk to me about this specific moment, because you're running to a place that not a lot of guys were playing this specific spot.
Yeah, I mean, up to this point in the tournament, I hadn't seen anybody play here. And to be honest, I'll say this before I explain any other part of like this specific scenario. I had never played that spot before in practice or in the tournament.
Really?
I had never even really thought, yeah, I had never even really thought about it. But I had certainly been playing up the center a lot. I was very comfortable with, you know, shooting on the break in this kind of dead zone here. And then choosing based on how the opposing team broke out, choosing which was the better spot to go to, you know, like either the center brick or the mini W or the center little mini brick. You know, there were situations and breakouts that would tell you like, okay, you should go here, play over the top, or you should go here and look snake way, right? But before this point, Ryan came up to me and was like, hey, there's this spot that's basically like just over the beam. And I think you can run and dive into there and then just pop up and you're going to see these players filling out to the snake side. And I was like, okay. I mean, I was kind of like, all right. I mean, you think so? Tell me exactly where you think it is. And he kind of explained. He pointed it out to me on the map. And this was all happening like just in the break between points. You know, I had never really looked at that shot before. But the thing that I did know it would help with is that it had been a battle in the center between Chad from Damage and myself, just like constantly trying to figure out where the other guy was, right? And addressing the center guy before you could do anything else. Because if you didn't, you would get bunkered or he would come to the backside of your bunker or something like that. And I did know that from this spot that Ryan was describing, I would have a pretty good opportunity to catch Chad coming up the center. So nothing made me happier than to go there and pop up. And first I was able to see, I think it was Jason Edwards filling from the back center to the California or to the snake side can. But then sure as shit, just like I thought, Chad did his normal launch, you know, and he came to our side and it was like, okay, dude. And I was like, as I was sitting over the top of that thing, like, whoa, this is actually a really good spot. I was thinking like, dude, thanks, Ryan. This was a really good idea, you know, like as that point is going on. And then honestly, I overplayed it here, you know, like I felt like I had shot enough bodies and going to their side of the field was going to be the move on this one. But I overplayed it and I made some mistakes here to finish out. And luckily, I think it was Blake and Harry were there to win a 2-on-2, you know, which could have gone either way, but they played it really well and really smart.
Yeah, and we just talked about this, and this is why at the first event, with obviously you guys playing the same position, mid event, tough to kind of pull you to put to play someone else's spot where you've been prepping for that. But then as we kind of see, there'll be another one coming up here where you and Blake do combo to help win a game. But that's a great story, Yosh, because that sometimes is how it's done. You know, if you need, sometimes this is the experience that it takes and how the sausage is made, where one guy comes up and goes, oh, you're playing this one here. I think you should try this. And you're like, I haven't, because it literally looked so good. It looked like a drawn up play. I mean, look at we get this, Darren, if we could track it back, like look at the route that because when I watched this, it looked like a drawn up play. It literally looked like some of you guys had practiced at least a couple of times because of the route you run. You're blocking yourself out. You dive across in a very specific pattern. And so like start from here. All right. So look at this route that Yosh runs. Okay. So he stops, he shoots that D side lane. He runs right at the brick. He dives out perfectly, executed almost like he shot the ground ahead of time to know where he's supposed to dive, blocks himself out with the Hertz tower, shoots the inside lane. So it looks about as drawn up as it possibly can, Yosh, but that wasn't drawn up, is what you're telling me.
Well, I mean, it was, but it was drawn up 20 seconds before the point started. I mean, like I said, Ryan did a good job of explaining like exactly what he wanted to do, which was really surprising because I had not seen Ryan do that either at practice, you know. So I feel like it was just an idea that he had kind of like held on to until that moment. We never made a play off of it. Although, you know, like watching it, I'm like, that could have been effective as a drawn up play. You could have thrown that like once a match or thrown it situationally. But I mean, certainly in that moment against Damage, it was the right play call, you know. And I mean, if somebody's going to just like make up kind of an obscure play and tell you to do something, who else are you going to trust other than Ryan, you know, to be like, oh, all right. I mean, you're saying that's going to work. Okay. I'll do that. You know, I'll give it my best go. Tell me exactly how you want.
You're a coach.
I remember asking him, like, tell me exactly the line that you think I should run and where I should pop up. And he knew it. Like he did tell me exactly like the line to run, where to dive, where to pop up, and what I would see. And it was all true. So props to Ryan on that one.
Oh, it was excellent, man. You know, and this is one where, you know, it's like you don't look like the hero in a sense that you don't finish the point out like some of these other ones that we're going to watch here coming up. But it was the difference maker. That's paintball. Sometimes you're the guy that shoots a body on the break and then you win a gunfight. A lot of times on the webcast, we don't even see those situations sometimes because there's so much going on. Other times it's you closing out at the right moment. Sometimes it's midpoint, like this specific example right here, where Yosh is getting an audible from Ryan saying, okay, you're going to run here, block it out like this, dive in here, stump up. He's probably, based on the reads, probably Chad's going to be here. You get those kills and then finish it off. And I appreciate you being honest, being like, yeah, then I overplayed it a little bit because that happens a lot in the game too. You shoot some bodies, you're like, oh, I'm on fire right now, dude. I'm going to finish this one off. And then you get up in that situation, then you got to count on your teammates to finish off the point, which they did nicely. All right, so moving on, let's go to this next one here. So this one's interesting, if this is the play that I'm thinking of. Yeah, so it's 2-3. You guys are up by 1, and you've been battling Chad up the middle, and Keith's in a really good spot. So it's you and Chad again, and there's 6:45 on the clock, and this is kind of one of those moments, like, are they going to tie it up? Are we going to have a war here? Are you guys going to take a lead? Talk me through what was going on in this moment, if you remember this one specifically.
I felt like the way that the center was playing here, based on Damage's playing style, and the way that Chad wanted to play the center, was that for the most part, if either one of us spied the other guy, the takedown was not difficult, you know. And so it was like kind of this game of baiting the other guy to come up and or trying to conceal where you were once you gave away where you were. If you were close, I mean, look how close we are to each other here. You know, it's just the move is not difficult to take the other guy down if you know he's there. But if you make that move and he's decided to be somewhere else, you're giving away your body, which is extremely valuable, right? So I think both of us were kind of playing this scenario where it was like, okay, just don't give yourself away that much. I got good info from teammates basically telling me like exactly where Chad was, which is, you know, kind of all the information that I needed. I sat from what felt to me like a long time posted on Keith, waiting for him to make that move. I felt like I was not discovered yet, and he never made the move. You know, I mean, now I'm looking at the actual like ticking down of the clock. It was only a minute, which is not an eternity, right? But I sat posted on the lane for what felt like 2 minutes, and I knew the game was close enough where I didn't want to just let the game develop around me, right? Like I felt like this was a proactive center, especially when you had information. And so I gave up on that lane, and I thought, well, I've got information on where Chad is. I'm gonna go deal with him, and that provides value for our team. And like I was describing before, you know, like you do calculate this risk and you assess like how much damage am I going to be able to do that's somewhat guaranteed, and then what are the bonuses that I'm going to get off of it. This is a prime example of that. You know, I mean, I felt like I would be able to go and get the drop on Chad. I did not expect Keith to make the move at the exact time that I turned my back on him, but it just so happened that I was concealed because I was also moving around that side of the bunker. And luckily he never looked inside and presented another free kill. You know, just one of those things where, I mean, the opportunity seemed pretty good, and then it turned over so much more. And it's like, you know, one of those moments where you could point out, like, be the aggressor, you know, like when you feel it and the situation allows you to be the aggressor and good things happen.
Yeah, when I rewatched this one again,
you know, like that's how he's going to play it against me too.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, Chad Bouger is one of the most aggressive guys we got out here. So yeah, if he gets a read on you, he's going to definitely make the move on you. But as I watched this, and I was like, hey, awesome move from Yosh. Really lucky that Keith didn't look inside. As I was like taking my notes, because Keith goes in there and he immediately guns up down the sideline. Because if he checks off inside, we're singing a different song here. But he didn't. And as we always say in paintball, rather be lucky than good, and twice when it counts. There's different ways to say the saying, but this was one of those situations where it was like, yeah, man, like Keith he makes that move, you make the move, like you said, be the aggressor, you shoot Chad, then you're like, what, did your eyes become saucer plates when you saw Keith's back? Like what was happening at that moment? Like, oh, there he's right here.
Yeah, I got to their tower and I look across, I'm like, oh my God, there's a guy right there, and I can see his pack, and he's actually tucked in there pretty good. He wasn't showing me a ton, but that's where I went to look for him. I was like, oh my God, he's there already, like that happened fast. So, I mean, yeah, I think as we watch all these clips, you're going to hear me describe, there's like some intuition and some decision-making happening here, but there's also an element of luck involved in a lot of these things, Maybe that makes it easier for me to pass off when it fails also. I can be like, unlucky. I don't know.
No, for sure. All right, so jumping into, so I think we this. So this is so this was the last event, and this was interesting. This was the one at the Lone Star here in Texas. This was your guys' first match, and it's tied 3-3. It's 2:02 left to go. If you let's just play it out here, just watch this one.
Well, I mean, I know we're going to watch this, but just to kind of give a preface to this, we had played Infamous in the 3-man the day before. Did we play them twice? Is that how that worked? I think that's how it worked. I think maybe we played them twice. I know you played
Fit twice. We have some 3-man highlight. We have the big one to get you guys to go on into the finals and the semifinals, but I can't remember if you played them twice or not. I have to go look at my notes real quick.
And then previous to the 3-man, whether we play them twice, we handed them losses there. And like, it's really difficult to beat a team 2 times in a tournament or even 3 times in a tournament. And I was like, kind of like stacking those 3-man matches up with the Pro X-Ball tournament, thinking like, man, it's going to be hard to beat these teams that we've already beaten, even though it's a different format. And then on top of that, I feel like the last 2 years that we've had an event in Texas, for some reason, we've drawn Infamous as our first game. And I remember last year we had a less than desirable result at Texas, and it was Infamous that handed us our first loss in the prelims. And so that was also in my head, and I reminded the guys about that, like there are going to be no pushover games here. I mean, we're going to have to go in, we're going to have to get hot right away, and it's going to be a really tough match against Infamous. I mean, they always play us well, and just the track record that I can remember at this specific location, they beat us. So that was definitely in my mind as we entered into our tournament and the first match here. But here we go, Blake.
So if we could just real quick. So Darren, if we could just run this back here real quick, because it gets really tense. So we start out this one at the beginning of it with a decent amount of time on the clock, but if we pause it right here, you guys have created a high body situation for yourselves. And now I know you're a coach, so I know you probably beat this into the brains of the divisional guys that you coach. But it's so frustrating when we can't find a way to convert on a high body situation with not a lot of time left. What's interesting about this specific not a lot of time left is that, and I'm always telling my guys, hey, we need to be near or at the 40s and 50s and 30-yard lines, like right around 30 to 45 seconds, because that gives us time to create opportunities for ourselves when we're launching on the attack and we're close enough to each other that we can play off each other. That's how the best in the business typically do it. It doesn't always work out that way, obviously, based on what you're dealing with and you're trying to stay alive, because you also don't want to go, like, I'd be willing to play in overtime here, if I was you guys, it's different for WCPPL teams because they're going to go to a tie. But for you guys, it's like, all right, man, if we can't convert this high body situation, at least we can reset, go try to win it in overtime. But we don't want to squander high body situations when we have opportunities. But you guys are not on the 40s and 50s. You guys are in, snake 2, outside snake 1. Farthest body up is about to move up from the wedge. Like, we are not in spots to close right now. This is not a closing spot with 32 seconds. So you guys have to develop this play incredibly quickly. Talk me through this closing play out of not ideal spots. You guys are more in the 20-yard line. Not the best place to be in with 32 seconds left to go to try to steal the win in a high body situation.
Right. And the reason why we're still so far back on the field, and the reason why the closeout was delayed and felt kind of haphazard was because we didn't have information on what was still alive on the snake side. And on this layout, like, if you didn't have that information, you could get stung. I mean, one guy buried in the snake side could essentially stop the entire center of the field and also shoot you if you came deep into the Dorito side, right? So
just real quick,
like,
Yosh,
my first move.
Just real quick, because I think you might be about to talk through this, but to give everyone the tactical 100% information on this, as you make this move, you hop the snake beam with 18 seconds left. I mean, first of all, did you know it was just two? No, you definitely didn't know it was two bodies. So the information was off for sure because you're checking off on the snake side as you roll up. When did you? So like, what did you think based on process of elimination that you potentially had, knowing you needed to command once you checked off on that side? Did you know for certain there was no one on that side? Because you check off on the snake side as that was happening.
Right. So I felt like the most probable position that they were in was that outside snake mini W, because it's a fortress, right? Like, you can lay down in there and you can live from across field, but it's also a fantastic place to sit in there and cross up. And like I said, you can protect the whole center. So hopping over the snake beam and coming to their side with the intention to trade with that player, I felt like that would free Arturo to come all the way down. And there wasn't a lot of time. So as I'm making this move to their wedge in the center, I'm telling Arturo, like, I'm going to try to clear the snake. I don't think there's anyone in the snake. And Arturo and I are kind of talking through that. And as I'm talking through that, he's like getting information and he's going to apply pressure. But I mean, he told me after, he's like, dude, I knew that if I went face down in the snake and crawled it, there wouldn't be enough time for me to be a part of closing it out, But he, at the same time, he's like, I looked inside and you and Blake were both standing there and would have an opportunity. So he just absorbed pressure, which, I mean, you can see that's exactly what's happening here. I mean, it's playing out where even though we didn't have all the information, we were able to get that information with just enough time left, and Arturo absorbed all the pressure. And then Blake and I were, thankfully able to go down there. And again, I mean, they're dug in really far there, right? But Blake knew exactly what he needed to do. I mean, he understood where the last body was. Neither one of us knew exactly how much time was left on the clock, but Blake was like, okay, Yosh is standing right here next to me. If I just lean in and guarantee that I trade with this guy, Yosh is going to be able to hit the buzzer. I had to also check that guy off to make sure he was dead, and then I hit the buzzer. I mean, it probably would have just been smarter for me to just probably use Blake's body and hit the buzzer without checking that guy off, because I didn't know how much time was left. But yeah, I mean, thankfully Blake was so decisive in that Blake didn't treat that like I'm going to try to shoot this guy and live situation. He took the big step, traded with the guy, and that gave me the free pass to the buzzer.
It almost looked like he took the big step, because if you look at his body language, he went pretty big bodied up on it, maybe subconsciously or consciously even giving you a blocking situation where you could get across to hit that buzzer. And sometimes, you get a head check on the buzzer. You're like, all right, it's 20 seconds left. You're not going to get another head check on that buzzer. You're about to go to war. And that seemed like one
right.
of the situations.
I mean, they're like, right. There wasn't time to look over my shoulder, and talking with Blake right after the match, he was like, yeah, I went full commitment to make sure that I was going to trade with that guy. Like, again, that whole thing blows up and you don't get the point if Blake tries to finesse that guy out by like engaging in some sort of snap shooting battle. Blake took the big step because he knew he could expose that guy's body and at least get a ball on him. I mean, it's really, really smart
Yeah.
play on Blake's part, and just timing to have both of our bodies there alive in the center.
And yet another point where you guys win a game where it's you and Blake on the close, like it was just kind of cool to see it in the beginning of the year where we're like, yeah, I might want to think about putting Yosh and Blake together. And then just to see that just these micro moments, I say that a lot to the guys I coach too. There are micro moments where it's a very small little read you have to make, and that could be the complete difference maker because you hit that buzzer with 1 second left. And that was
it was too close, really. It was too close.
Yeah, I mean, it was, but I don't know. I mean, could you guys have closed it faster? Maybe if you got like a little bit better read on the information, but based on the information you just told me you had, I don't know how you close that faster. I mean, you and Blake kind of had the full commitment. Artie's eating the pressure outside wide. You don't have really too much time to get a read on what's happening with the D side guy. You just got to hope it all kind of shakes out. There are many moves you make in those situations where you're not going to you have maybe 80 to 85% of the info, and you just hope the next 15% like shakes out for you. And you just got to make those moves. Let's head into these 3-man moves, because these are some fun, nice closes here. You guys, because this is, again, we'll get into this conversation in a little bit here. But you have a situation where it's like, okay, we win the 3-man, and then we go 1-3 in the prelims and don't make Sunday. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But we're in the 3-man here. You guys are playing PB Fit. This is your first game against PB Fit. Deep in the tournament. This game actually knocked you guys down you guys end up losing this game. But let's get give me your commentary on this situation. 0-0 is the score. We're running down on time. It's a longer first point. 4:25 on the clock. You guys are trying to close this one out.
Yeah, I mean, from a tournament standpoint, this was a match between the two winners bracket teams, and it was an opportunity for us to kind of have an easy ride through. I mean, we wanted to stay in the winners bracket obviously all the way through. It was a long day, and we knew we had to play paintball the next day as well. But at the same time, Fit was playing really well, and up to this point, we hadn't beaten Fit. I mean, that's our track record. Like there's a certain amount of trying to get that monkey off our back. And I mean, Fit probably felt that too. Fit probably was like, yeah, Dynasty has not beaten us. We got the upper hand on them. And who knows, right? Like maybe they don't even count the 3-man thing as part of that whole dynamic. But for us, it was like, okay, cool. Another opportunity to play Fit. This is great. Let's go out. Let's just try to be steady. And like being steady, yeah, there's a lot of things that you can do when you're trying to be steady, but that was kind of like where we identified, this was the match where we identified like this, we need to be more steady on this field. It's going to be a slow field. Even in these 3-man situations, you're going to win them when you have the bodies, right? So it was like kind of created this mantra of staying alive and being steady and trying to outsteady them, because that's what they've done to us over our past few meetups where they've beaten us. I mean, it's like 4 matches or something like that they beat us in a row. One of those being, the Tampa finals match. So, a fun opportunity. I mean, again, like it's the 3-man event. We don't put a lot of pressure on. We try to kind of treat it like high caliber practice. You're shooting tournament paint. You've got tournament refs, and you're on the field, and you're playing against high caliber players and teams. But yeah, the 3-man game on this full field, it's fun because there are opportunities. The field's so big and the players are so spread out that you have to keep your head on a swivel, and there are definitely moves to be made.
So speaking of moves to be made, and as we watch this one again, I kind of like to see the beginning of this one again, Darren, if we can, just because this is a lot of times when we're coaching or when you're trying to get elite performance out of guys, once you read the variables and you understand what needs to happen, like, so this is a perfect example. So just pause right here, Darren. So it's a 3-on-2 situation. There's 4:47 left on the clock. It's point number 1. Let's put the hammer down here. This is exactly what you do. It just almost looks like you read it in your head. You're like, oh, if I shoot this guy, dive in the stake and stay alive, I know exactly where C-Ball is across field. I'm gonna shoot both these guys. So talk me through that read, because this was a perfect read. I mean, you read it.
I mean, like I've got my buddy in the snake here who gives me the exact information I need. I mean, he can tell me both parts of it. He can tell me that that there's pressure on him down the snake wire, which is great info for me, because typically if a player has wire control on the snake, he's not just going to give that up willy-nilly, right? So if he's got it, he may keep it, at least for a certain amount of time. And then he can also look across field, and he can either put pressure on this, I don't know what shape you call that, but this little mini laydown over here, or he can tell me whether he's getting pressure from there, right? So, I mean, just Arturo, I think that was Arturo in the snake in front of me, right? Or it was Danny. I think it was Arturo. Just
Arturo.
That one guy can give me, just that one guy can give me all of the information that I need to make that move. And then the move is not hard. It's not I don't even really feel like it's like a high paintball IQ move. You've literally got a teammate who's telling you, this guy's shooting at me and I've got this guy in, like the field is, at least that portion of the field is wide open at that point.
I mean, it was still just beautiful. So it gives you guys a lead here. You do unfortunately lose that game. It sends you down into the losers bracket, which is kind of also the semifinals, because whoever wins that next one, because you guys are already deep into the winners bracket. So then you lose your first game of the day, and then you go and play Infamous. And Infamous looked really good in this one. So Infamous has the lead here in this situation. So this was, again, when we keep looking at some of these moments, these are just, and this is why I wanted to, if we could just pause right here, Darren, this is why I wanted to pick your brain earlier on, Yosh, about like, well, how are you getting up for these tense moments? And you're saying like, whatever, man, like it's just paintball, who cares? It's war with no death. It doesn't matter what happens here. Like, yeah, it's a pressure situation, quote unquote, but, and yeah, we're down 3. There's not a lot of time left. Whatever, down 1. If we lose this game, we get knocked out of the tournament. Who gives a shit? I don't care. Like that's kind of where it seems like that your headspace is in these moments, because we've seen that's been what it's been this entire time on this highlight reel. And I couldn't spend 5 hours doing Yosh highlights. There's more than this. You guys can go back and watch some of these games.
I guess
these were just some of the, I thought, the crucial moments.
Yeah, I think maybe I didn't phrase it correctly. It's not who gives a shit. It's like, you only have a certain amount of energy or bandwidth, right? So every amount that you put into trying to understand like the enormity of the moment, or making the moment bigger than it really is taking away from the bandwidth that you have to do the actual important shit, like rather than spending energy on, trying to wrap your head around how big the situation is or the pressure is, you can use that energy on gathering information. And like everything that we're seeing here it's really based on getting good information from teammates. And I guess it goes back to what I was saying earlier, where it's like, I'm at a place with myself right now where I feel like if I have good information, then I can make good decisions, So that's what I'm working on here. I'm like just working on getting good information. It doesn't just come from my eyes or my ears. It comes from teammates. And, off of that information, you just go and do what you feel is right. So, I mean, yeah, that was, again, a particularly fun one that it opened up because I was getting good information.
I just also, can we let's just roll this back. Can we see the hand change here on the jump over the bunker at the time? I like bunkering people. Yeah, apparently you do like bunkering people. Can we just watch the fluid? Again, to reiterate here, Yosh is 43 years old. Watch the jump over the bunker hand change here, dude. This is insane. Just watch the fluidity of this. Watch the burst speed. I'm telling you, bro, if you're over 40 and Yosh isn't your favorite player right now, I don't know what you guys are doing, dude.
Dude, you're setting me up for a huge tumble at the next event, yard sale style.
Well, don't. Hey, it may happen, Yosh, but don't just look at this. Look, jump over the bunker, hand switch. Jump over the bunker, hand switch on the jump, dude. Like, what are you, 25 still, dog? Like, come on, bro. What are we doing here?
Well, I practice those.
Are you practicing that?
I do about 250 of those a week. I don't have any airball bunkers in my house other than just a snake beam. I have a snake beam in my backyard, and I just kind of run back and forth and hop over the snake beam with my gun in my hands.
Oh, it's so good. Okay, let's
those pro DNA.
Okay, so that's all. Yeah, the Pro DNA cleats. You know, it's just how light the force is. Just doing yoga. I don't know if you're doing yoga still or whatever. I've done some hot yoga. Also, I hate hot yoga. Thank you, Yosh, for making me hate hot
What?
yoga because.
Dude, it's the
Well,
best.
it's awesome, but I know you love it, but I just remember being in hot yoga with you, and as I'm like holding these poses, and I was like, I didn't think yoga would be so hard. Why? I guess I can't stop sweating. I'm like having a hard time even keeping my hands on this mat right now because I've sweated out at least 5 gallons of liquid. This is insane. But
It's
whatever. The
amazing. You don't
yoga
feel good
practice,
while
if
you're
you're,
in it, but when you come out, you feel like 10 years younger.
yeah, are you still doing it? Because it looks like you are. You know, it looks. I mean, I know we
No,
did
I
it
just play
10,
paintball.
15 years ago, whatever it was. Just playing paintball. God bless
No,
you.
I just play
All
paintball
right.
in
So,
Cincinnati, Dallas, and Florida now. And it's hot enough.
all right. So, couple things I want to ask you before I let you go. I do want to ask about your bracket because you guys did not get the bye this year. Before we jump into the bracket conversation, though, Yosh, you did the narration for All That Matters, which I loved, man. I mean, obviously, I've done a lot of paintball narration, and when they were like, we want Yosh to do it, I was like, that's a genius call. Yosh's baritone voice is going to be perfect for this. Yes, please. So, I mean, how was that experience? I thought it turned out really well. I just got back from
It
an
was,
event and I wore my All That Matters shirt there. So I was going to wear it today for the show on general principle alone, but it's covered in paint right now. So I had to rock my Great American Paintball shirt. But anyway, how was that experience?
it was awesome. I mean, when Alex mentioned that he had been, discussing that possibility with Miko and kind of like offered it to me, I was pretty surprised and I was definitely honored. I mean, it was I had at that point understood the undertaking of creating the All That Matters film. Like I had been there for not just some of the filming that went into it, but also like, I mean, the endless hours of phone calls between Alex and Miko and seeing, I mean, the extremely like high grade equipment and the high grade production value that they put into making All That Matters. So to be offered an opportunity to be a part of that on the production level was super cool. And then I mean, the writing part, people may or may not know that like you worked with me a lot on the writing portion and also the delivery of it. But Alex and Miko had also kind of come up with their version of a script, a message that they wanted to put in the beginning of the movie to kind of set the tone, right? And they were like, here's kind of our idea, but you can change it around to what you want. And that part was really fun too. I mean, being able to take that home and rewrite certain parts and expand on certain ideas that I really loved that they had in there, and then getting like some polished copy and some ideas back from you and getting your expertise on the delivery of it. And then, like a lot of people don't realize how all of this stuff works, but like either going to a sound studio and doing a recording, or having recording equipment at your house so that you can do this type of stuff. Or in my case, having recording equipment in my car and sitting out in my car in my driveway because it was like the only quiet place that I could do it for like a couple hours.
Car's a great
and
place
doing
to
the
do
reading
it.
on that.
You can do it in the car.
Yeah, very quiet, and not a lot of distractions. So I probably went through the reading like, I don't know, 30, 40 times. And then just kind of gave that whole pile to Miko. And I think he must have probably gone through enough of them where he's like, all right, I've got something that I like in here. Let's go with it. But yeah, I mean, what an awesome paintball film. Like there are a lot of different types of paintball media that are being offered nowadays. Certainly different levels of production, which is really cool. I mean, it's accessible, right? Like every day there's something new. And there's fantastic coverage from you and the team for all of the major events. But the All That Matters film was, I mean, to me, it was like there was nostalgia there, even though it was new, and it was new, new content, new players. But the nostalgia part of it for me was like this like feature length paintball movie, right? And that's what a lot of us grew up watching. I mean, that was the type of media that we would consume that would really get us excited about paintball. And now we have, like you mentioned it earlier in the show, there's all of these other like feature length movies about paintball that are now offered that everyone else can enjoy and watch too. And it becomes part of the historical paintball narrative, and no doubt the All That Matters project will also become part of that, which is really cool.
Yeah, when I watched it, that's exactly what I thought, and I'm just so happy that Alex was willing to do it, and that Miko pulled it off. Miko and Pat pulled it off, and I was really stoked that you were the one to do the, to do the announcing, to do the narration for it. It was epic, man. It really was super cool. Another thing before we get into the talking about the bracket, because I feel your bracket is the bracket of death. So I want to get your thoughts on your bracket. I feel like that's must-see TV if you're a paintball fan, and when we go to World Cup, because that bracket is insane. I feel that, I talked to some of the fit guys at the USXPL about the whole buy situation. I know you've been there before too, and I want to get your thoughts on that. But that bracket, whoever comes out of bracket B very well could win the World Cup. I know you'd have to get through the top 4 teams, but man, that is just a lion's den down there. Actually, just talk about it right now, and then then my last question will be about the Dynasty Champions Club. Let's look at this bracket, dude. Dynasty, Damage, Shock, Royal City Sea Dogs, who have made a Sunday, and then Joy Division, who's won a tournament overseas. That's a nasty bracket.
I mean, I don't do a lot of talking about, all of the brackets and comparing them, because I feel like it's a healthier exercise for me to just respect all the teams that I'm going to play against and deal with everyone else later, right? I mean, you don't have control over it. I feel like it's been interesting because throughout this entire year, there's been teams that we were consistently paired with in the prelims, Arsenal and Damage being 2 of those teams.
Yeah.
And there have been some battles, those are 2 teams that are playing really well and have, really bulked up in terms of talent, and they've applied that talent well, and they're playing really good paintball. These other teams in the bracket, I can already see that they're going to be some really tough battles. At this point, we know pretty much everybody in the league. It's been a long time since we played against Joy Division, but we've had, I saw something getting passed around social media recently that was like, basically, it was a replay of the Dynasty Joy Division 7-man finals in Orange County, however long ago that was, in the mid 2000s, and it was, some people say that was like the most hotly contested finals result that there's ever been in pro paintball, and I don't disagree. I mean, it was a crazy match, but even though that's a totally different team than this Joy team that we're going to play, I feel like there's still going to be some of that emotion wrapped in there. Like there's still going to be some rivalry just in that game, and these teams, Luckies and Joy, they're coming in and, they're at the bottom of the bracket. At least that's the way it looks right here, right? But these guys are playing really good paintball, and they're coming to the World Cup, and they're going to have an opportunity to showcase their talents and skills, and they're going to be highly competitive. So, that's just talking about Joy, who's at the bottom. And then, Aftershock, it's always a battle with them. I don't want to say that there's bad blood between Dynasty and Aftershock. I would actually maybe rephrase where there's bad blood between Aftershock and everybody in the league. But they're a fun team to play against because there's always something on the line, right? Like there's always something personal on the line. And a Dynasty and Aftershock showdown at World Cup is like, that's a classic one, so I'm looking forward to that match too. the difficulty of the bracket, again, I don't judge that much. It looks hard because all these teams I respect, but I don't know that like winning our bracket means that we're a shoe-in to win World Cup. We just try to take it one step at a time, and that's not even winning our bracket as the first step. It's like winning the first point and then winning the first match and then moving on from there. Like we've learned over a lot of time that this is a really difficult game at World Cup. There's all these stories of disappointment, and there's all these stories of people falling short, and there's only one team who doesn't fall short of what they wanted to do. So it's a really difficult tournament to win. I like to embrace the challenge. It should be fun. I'm really looking forward to the preparation and the lead up going into World Cup. We've got some great practices lined up and a great week ahead of the tournament. And it's always a fun one to attend and see everybody that's there, not just, the people that show up at all the rest of the tournaments throughout the year, but, a lot of people come out of the woodwork to come to World Cup.
Yeah, World Cup is another monster, as I've said on many voiceovers throughout the years. It really is another beast. Not all tournaments are created equal, and World Cup is an absolute beast of a tournament. Your bracket's interesting for a couple reasons, though, Yosh. So it's like, just before I ask you about a couple more questions before I let you go. So Damage is the second seed. You've played Damage 4 times this year. 4 times. And you played them at every single event. And you guys are 3-1 against Damage, but they did beat you. This is a what have you done for me lately sport, and they did beat you 2-5 in at the last event. But you beat them with the other 3 times. I mean, you guys knocked them. I mean, if Damage is has this insane roster, spending all this money, they got they stole some players from you or took some players from you, whatever you want to call it. There's and I know there's not really like quote unquote bad blood there, but you guys have gotten the better of them this year. So there's a story in that game. If we go all the way back to when Dynasty was incarnated, I think it was World Cup 2021 or 2022, and the last game between Dynasty and Aftershock kind of started Dynasty's story, like at the top of as an elite team. So there's a lot of history there. We're talking 25 years ago, and then with Joy Division, guys, go out there and YouTube Paintball Ruined My Life, Brad Johnson, breaking down the game. I was there for that. And honestly, a lot of people kept asking me about my opinion of that when it was going down, because if Joy Division beat you guys, Excessive wins the series title that year. And so they were like, aren't you pissed off about how Dynasty cheated them, blah, 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 and this and that. And then other people like, no, it was Joy Division that cheated. And I'm like, look, dude, here's how this works. Like, I'm a realist. I'm a radical realist. Dynasty was called the winner at the end of that game. They're the winner. Sorry. Like, no one's going to change anything. I could sit here and bitch about this and that, and it should have gone this way or that. And then we could break it down frame by frame on the grainy videos that we had on that situation. But the way it went down, if you convince the refs that this is what happened, and the refs make the call and you win the tournament, guess what? You won the tournament. So as much as it saddens me that we didn't win the series title that year, because of that exact situation, I don't care. That doesn't matter. Like, I didn't have a hand in that. We did the best we could with Excessive, and we didn't win the series title because of the implications of that match. But my opinion on it was that, well, Dynasty was called the winner of that game, and so Dynasty won that game. That's just how this works. So but there's just so much drama, and I was there for that. Again, it was absolute pandemonium. So there is a decent amount of history.
It was
Dynasty and Joy Division.
It's just another example of how close things are. It's just an example of how close things get. In paintball in general, but just how razor thin the line is.
Yeah.
Anyway, it'll be a good battle.
But to me, it's going to make it super fascinating to watch, and there's going to be a lot of stories for me to tell. I just can't. It's going to be fun. So yeah, Yosh, I'm very much excited to see you guys contend at World Cup, a tournament you've won many, many, many times, especially the past since 2020. Before that as well too, in different incarnations of the squad. Last question before I let you go, though, because I think it is something that's unique that's happening out there. We got 20 pro teams. There's like 200-ish pro players. But because you guys are the most historic team of all time, you guys started this Champs Club, the Champions Club, not that long ago, where people can, they obviously it costs money. And hey, welcome, newsflash, welcome to the world. If you want cool things, you got to pay money for it. But they pay a monthly fee and they get access to you guys that no one has. I think it's a super cool thing that you guys have been doing, and I just wanted to give you a chance to talk about the Champions Club before we sign off.
I love the experience with the Dynasty Champs Club. I mean, it's obviously like all these professional paintball teams run in a different way, right? Like some teams have a financial backer, some teams run on sponsorship. Dynasty is lucky enough to have supporters that have helped Dynasty either by buying sponsored goods or supporting the team directly. And the Champions Club is an extension of that in terms of, the members of the club are obviously big Dynasty fans, but they're supporters and they're aware that what they're paying for their membership is actually helping to keep Dynasty going. I mean, that's the honest part of it. Like it's people who are really investing in the team and the team being able to keep going in the way that we are used to going, which is, maintaining a highly competitive squad and having a lot of outreach and going and doing extra events so that we can get out there and, preach the paintball gospel, as you like to say. Not only that, but it's also introduced us to a group of about 150 to 200 Dynasty supporters who we've gotten to know in a much closer way. Now it's not like we're simply, email pen pals or acquaintances where there's been some exchange of like a signed poster or a jersey or something like that. We are now blessed to travel all around the world and meet Dynasty Champions Club members and Dynasty supporters in a meaningful way where we spend, fun weekends together, playing big games, playing paintball together, flying members out to build their own Dynasty Signature Series force in Field 1 headquarters, like having Dynasty Champs Club members on the pit crew. So they're spending time being a part of the team and being a part of the team at a competition in a very meaningful role. It's been, I don't know if we were talking about this on camera or off, but it's been really cool for me to expand the Dynasty family beyond just the players and the coaches and maybe like a manager, but really expand the Dynasty family into this huge tribe. And I certainly feel the love everywhere we go. It's a really cool benefit for the team to have supporters, like boots on the ground everywhere we go. Like that has a value to the team that I can't really even explain. There's just always this boost where you're always feeling like there's always help here. There's always Dynasty supporters around, and it kind of keeps you going. So I'm thankful for it. I would say to anybody out there that is interested in joining the club, there's basically memberships available year round now. You can jump in at a pretty low rate, and there's a lot of different great things that you can get. I mean, we send out like a ton of Dynasty gear. We've got intel sessions every month where we share experiences from the team. We break down previous tournaments. We break down field layouts. We talk about team mentality, individual performance. You get insight into how the team interacts with the coaches and the team interacts with each other. Tons of great travel stories, all that stuff. And then also what a lot of people who attend NXL has probably noticed, we have like our own VIP section at the NXL events where we set up like a Dynasty Champs Club tent. All the players hang out in there. In fact, usually it's where we have our team meetings and the guys get ready for each one of our matches. And all the Champs Club members are welcomed into the DCC VIP tent to watch matches, mingle with the players, sit in on team meetings, and really kind of get that full team experience. DynastyPaintball.com is where you can find that.
It's just super cool. I went out to a dinner because I played the Decay Nations Big Game with you guys and went out to dinner with some of the Champs Club guys and just had some really good conversations with guys, man. It was just a bunch of a good group of dudes,
Great people.
So it's just really good people. And that's just one of the things, again, it's the gifts of the game. There's just so many good people that do this, and it just seems like you guys have built a hub of that. And I just, again, it's not like they were like, hey, give you some money, pump our Dynasties Club thing. Now I'm like, no, this is a legit, really cool thing that has a bunch of good people in it, and Dynasty's doing amazing things for the sport. This is something that needs to be supported. So I just, I think it's a really cool thing that you guys started there, and it does help keep the team vibrant. Yosh, thank you so much for your time, brother. Can't wait to see you play at World Cup, and you've just had an amazing career, and Jesus Christ, what an amazing 2025 for you, man. I really hope that the layout is, I don't know, whatever. It doesn't really seem to matter what the layout looks like. You and the rest of the boys have been good. I know you guys are going to be out for blood the next one, because it was frustrating to win the 3-man and then not make it on in the 5-man. Anything you want people to know about? I know you've been coaching in the WCPPL. I'm not sure if you have everything locked up for 2026, but anything else before we sign off that you want people to know about?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the value that I put on coaching for myself. But yeah, I coach a team out of Northern California called Alliance. We play in WCPPL, Mike Hinman's league, in the Premier Division. We played Division 3 last year and ranked up. It's a fantastic experience for me. I love the coaching aspect. I feel like it actually does benefit me as well as a player, because like I said, it helps me with recognition of a lot of situations and watching players react in certain situations. And it's sometimes so easy to see it from the sidelines, right? But yeah, I mean, I love coaching. If anyone out there, is looking for a coach, the Dynasty players do a great job of it. We still offer player clinics, we still offer team clinics, and also there's coaching opportunities. So, you can reach out if you're looking for a coach for your local events or regional events. I would say there's no better guy than getting a Dynasty guy.
Couldn't disagree. All right, brother. Hey, you have a great night, and can't wait to see you guys throw down here again, November 12th through the 16th. It's going down in Orlando every year since 1994. That's where we all converge and have the best tournament on planet Earth. Again, we're going to be having a ton of paintball content coming your way, Major League Paintball. Plus, before we get to the best event of the year, I'll see you guys next time.
Peace. Thanks, Matty.